In my last video, I removed a battery charger that was inside this cabinet. And so I need food storage for this, for my galley here. It's a great galley, but I just don't have no place to put dry goods. And because of that, my dinette table here constantly looks like this. So not having no storage for dry goods, this is what my dinette looks like constantly. I mean, 4 people can sit here, and usually there's not even enough room for me to sit here by myself, so I need a place to put all this stuff. So it'll be nice to be able to just come in here, and this will be all cleaned up, and I can sit here at this table and eat or do whatever. But so that's the reason for this this ladder project that I did, attaching the ladder, hinging it to the top here. It was hinged down to the floor before, and it would tilt back, and it was in the way. So at any rate, so there's a nice cabinet back here, and it's pretty big, so I can go ahead and put in all kinds of dry goods and food. And I can lift this ladder up now and latch it. Like that. Those are rubber mounts for the battery charger. So I assumed that whoever put that battery charger in there put those rubber mounts on there just to protect it from vibration, probably from the diesel engine, because they vibrate a lot. So that other round thing, it's white and black. That's my knot meter, so that tells me how fast my boat's going. So that's going to stay. I'm not going to move that. And but I have all this wiring now in here. Some of it's for the battery charger that I removed, so now I got to go ahead and remove these wires, and then I've got to figure out how I'm going to put shelves in here and how I'm going to place them in here to get the best utilization of the space available in here. So at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and start removing some of this wiring. And as far as these rings go, I think I can just pull these off now. Yeah, they come right off. So here's the rubber mounts that was used for the battery charger. I think I can just, that one doesn't want to come off. This one will come off though. And then I have I cut these bolts off here with my Dremel tool, because it was a 2-person job to unscrew them. They were through bolted with nuts on the back side. So I'm doing all this by myself, and so I got to make it work by myself. So I use my Dremel tool to cut the bolts and then pull the battery charger off. And then the bolts are still there. I'm going to leave them in there for right now. I just need to get into my locker that's in the cockpit and reach down, and I can pull them out from the other side. They'll just pull straight out. So I can get in here with my knife, pry these rubber mounts off. Some of them are glued on. That's weird. 2 of them came right off. The other 2 are glued on there really good. They're hard to reach. Maybe my screwdriver can get them off. Oh, here we go. I'll use my chisel. That'll work. This is one of the handiest tools to have. You wouldn't believe all the things I've done with this thing. These chisels are just great. So it makes this a lot easier. Okay, I think I can just pull it off now. Yep. I was trying to do that with my knife, but this chisel took it right off. So one more. Oh, got it. There it goes. All right, okay, those are out. Now I just got this wiring to deal with. And so at any rate, I'm going to put my chisel away. I won't need it. Now let's see what I can do with this wiring. They got metal staples or cable holders here that are into the wood. And hopefully they should pull right out when I yank on the cable, hopefully. Oh, not as easy as I thought. Put this one down here. Maybe I'll get my chisel out again and try that. Try that, pulling these out. So, yep, chisel never fails. Okay, and then I want to just take these staples. They're cable holders. I don't want them to fall down into the bilge. For one thing, if you go reaching down in there, they're really, really sharp. So I'm just going to remove them. Okay. If I just loosen them a little bit, I can pretty much pull them out. There we go. Another one. Oh, that one came out easy. Got it. Okay. Now I got 3 more to go. Ow! Oh, dropped that one. Okay, 1 more. One got away and went down in the bilge. And they're not stainless steel, so it's going to rust down in there. Just a small staple. It's just I don't like the idea of it being down in there because, you know, if I go reaching down in there, which is probably pretty much impossible. This bilge is so deep I can't really even reach down in it. It's really deep. I've dropped my glasses down in there a couple times, and I have a special tool for grabbing things that, you know, that fall down and hard to get places, and so I couldn't just reach down in there with my arm and reach it. So the bilge in this boat is really, really big and deep, and actually there's a lot of storage under the floorboards, and it stays pretty dry. Only get water just underneath the engine when I do get water in the bilge. So this boat does have a lot of storage under the floorboards. It's kind of debatable on should you be storing stuff in the bilge. It depends on your bilge. This boat, I can store a lot of canned goods and stuff in the bilge, and a lot of other things. I got anything that can get wet and doesn't hurt it to get wet, I can store in the bilge. The only problem is if you have a problem with a leak, then you got a bunch of stuff in the way if you need to get in and inspect your hull. Now I hope I can just pull these cables out of here. I don't know if I can. Some of them might come out, some of them might not. I see a big coil of cable down here. I don't know if it's for this. Looks like something else. This coil of cable, I think, I don't know what it's for, but it's all twisted up in this other cable. Oh, good. Okay, so I got one of them. So, at any rate, this is going into my battery compartment because my battery charger is in this cabinet. My batteries are stored over here under the settee. So, I did get this cable, and these got lugs on them, and they're in good shape. So, I could possibly reuse these for something if I need to. So, I'll hold on to them. There's one, 2 more to go. Looks like they're going to come right out. So this is pretty heavy gauge wire, 600 volts. It's rated out. And does it say the gauge size on it? It's pretty big. So Okay, there's the other one. One more to go. And I'll have those out of there. Oh, good, it's coming out. No problem. No problem at all. I think. Yep. All right, sweet. I got all 3 of them. So, yeah. Yeah, these are definitely reusable. So I may come across something I need to do. Hey, he's actually got a piece of red tape on here. The previous owner, I unhooked some of my batteries, the older batteries, and wanted to go redo and hook everything up like an idiot. I didn't mark them. And one thing, when you're messing with electrical stuff, you really need to label everything. And don't trust that you're going to remember what's what, because you come back several months later, a year or 2 years later, you're not going to remember what the hell's going on. So it's really good to label everything clearly. So anyway, okay, that's good. Now, that's all the wiring on that side. And I got, what's up with this string? I don't know. This here is, I think goes, yeah, this goes to my radio. So I think this is the antenna wire, so that'll stay. Then over here on this side, I have some wiring. Now, the wiring on this side, my refrigeration, and my refrigerator is in the cabinet right here, this cabinet. So it's down inside, it's top loading refrigeration system, and it was originally an ice box. So this boat never had a refrigerator in it. I did my own custom build. I took a Engel portable refrigeration unit, which is like an ice chest, but it has a compressor in it, so it's like a real refrigerator. And it runs on AC or DC, so it'll run on 12 volts or 110 AC power. And it'll switch automatically if the AC goes out, like if I'm hooked to shore power and the power goes out. If I have it connected to my battery bank, my 12 volt battery bank, then the 12 volt system will take over and the refrigerator will keep running. Now this back here, when it was an ice box, you put food in here in the cabinet, and it's a big deep well and it's all insulated. And then it had a slot, a hole cut across that goes into the back part here. And in the back part, there's a hatch up here in the cockpit, a small hatch. And you lift that up, and you can put a big block of ice down in here. And so what happens is the coldness from the ice goes through this hole, this opening, into the cabinet here, into the refrigeration cabinet, into where the food is. And the reason for that is when the ice melts, the water from the ice, when it melts, goes down into the bilge. It doesn't go into the refrigerator, into the ice box where your food is stored, so it doesn't get your food all wet. And so a lot of old boats are designed like that with the ice box. That's how they work. So what I did was I took this Engel refrigeration unit portable, and I tore it all apart, and I took the compressor and the evaporator and the condenser. They're all connected together, and they have coolant in them, Freon coolant. And so I had to be real careful, because you don't want any of that to leak out, because then your refrigeration unit won't work as good, and eventually it won't work at all. So I had to be really careful, because it's all copper tubing. And so that slot that was cut for the hole for the coldness to go from the block of ice into here, I had to cut it out a little bit bigger. And then I had to put the whole refrigeration unit, all the guts from that unit, I had to put down inside my refrigerator here, my ice box, where the food is, and then push the compressor through that hole. I had to cut it out bigger so the compressor would fit. So I put the compressor in here where the ice block used to go, and the evaporator's in here, because that's the part of the refrigeration system that gets cold. So it goes in here, and it was rectangle shape, which was great. So that side, so I put a piece of foam in between, because the cabinet's wider, so there's half of the cabinet's got this evaporator fit in there perfect. And And then I put foam barrier in between, but not all the way to the top, not all the way up to the top. I left a gap. So one side is a freezer, and then the cold air from the freezer comes over to this side over here, in here, and that's the refrigerator. So one half, this farther side is the freezer, this side inside this cabinet is the refrigerator. So it's all in the same cabinet. The compressor and the condenser are out here, and then I had to plug that hole up that I made bigger, completely plug it up, and then I had to insulate that whole wall. And because the compressor gets hot, the condenser gets hot. The condenser is what's removing the heat out of the evaporator. The evaporator part gets cold. So this unit works really good, and it freezes. I can freeze water and make ice in here, and all my food stays cold. And then I put these blue ice packs in here, the rigid ice packs, blue ice, all around the evaporator, and they freeze up, and then I can literally shut the power off to this refrigerator for several days and my food will stay cold. And so that's important. If I'm eventually, this boat's going to be running on solar power and wind power. I have 2 wind turbines I'm going to put up, and I got a bunch of solar panels that are going to go up, and then I have my big lithium battery bank. So on days when it's cloudy and I don't get a lot of sunlight, even if the batteries go down and I can't run my refrigeration system, it'll still stay cold because of the blue ice for days. And I've literally left for several days, came back, and my food was plenty cold and no problem. So I have a vent up here, and this vent is because the compressor gets hot and the condenser gets hot, and and this is all insulated. There's no good place for the heat to go. You need to get the heat to come out. You know, the cooler you can keep your condenser and your compressor, the compressor is going to last longer, and the refrigeration unit's going to get colder if you can keep the condenser cooled off. So that's what, and I can feel warm air coming out of here right here. I can feel warmth from the compressor. And then I have another hole in the back, on the back wall in this bulkhead, that also lets airflow from under the cockpit come through this, so to keep that cool down. And then also on my compressor and when I took the compressor out of the original ice chest thing that it was in, before I installed it, I wrapped the compressor with copper tubing, and I ran copper tubing all around the condenser. So eventually I'll be able to water cool the compressor and the condenser using seawater. And so I need a little water pump to pump water through. I may make a heat exchanger and use antifreeze like in your car radiator. So it'll be in an enclosed antifreeze section, and then the seawater will go through a heat exchanger, which will be a bunch of tubes within a tube. And so that way, just the seawater part, eventually get clogged up with algae and stuff from the ocean. That water's kind of icky, but the water going through the tubing for the compressor and the condenser it'll be antifreeze, and a mixture of antifreeze and water, and just like your car radiator. And so that's how it'll cool it. And so once I do that, this refrigeration system is going to get really cold. And the reason for that is when you get into the tropics, when it's really hot and the seawater is warm, and the seawater unfortunately is getting warmer now, it will help to cool the refrigeration unit down, because when you're in the tropics, the air temperature is so high that it's harder on the refrigeration unit to cool down. So I got these cables here. This is the DC, so this is like a cigarette lighter, and this is for my refrigeration. I don't have it hooked to my batteries yet, but I do have this here. So I need to run it in over here into where my battery bank is, and for the 12 volts for my refrigeration, to run on 12 volts off battery power. And then I have this plug here, and I have the compressor plugged in. It was also wired into my electrical panel here. I have my electrical panel right here, and this one right here is for hot water, and that's the water heater. But I had one, oh here it is, refrigeration, the bottom one. So right now I just have a plug going to my power strip up here in the galley to run the refrigeration unit, but I want to go ahead and get it rewired into my panel here on this breaker. So there'll be a breaker on it. Of course, there's a breaker on my power strip up there, but this will have its own breaker for the refrigeration, and I can turn on and off the refrigeration on my panel here. And so I'm going to have to get into this and figure out what I want to do here with this wiring. And so I'm going to have to move some of this out of the way. I have to get all this wiring out of the way. As far as cabinets go, or shelving goes in here, I got quite a bit of room going up here. So that's, my hand's touching the top, and that's under the cockpit. So my first shelf's going to be probably about here. And then I got these plastic, they're acrylic. Yeah, my hands are dirty from in there. It's pretty dirty. But I got this acrylic. And this is the same stuff I used on my spice rack. This works really good. So what I'm going to do with this is each shelf, I'm going to have to cut it, but it's going to be cut. And then like the shelf here, this is going to be right here across the shelf. So it'll keep anything from sliding out. You know, the boat's going up and over waves. So this will keep any of the canned goods probably, or whatever I put up here on top, from sliding out. And also it's clear so I can see through it. So it'll be easy to see anything up against here. I can be able to see. And all of my shelving is going to have this in here in the front. So what I got to figure out is I have to figure out, my first shelf's going to be about here, I think. So that'll give me enough room. I can get stuff up in here, depending on the size. Now the second one's going to be probably about here. So I'll probably just have 2 shelves here. And then I'm going to leave this bottom part open so I can put stuff like store my big bottles of water down in here. So I'll have to have my other shelf about like that. It's just enough room I can get and reach down in here with my arm and be able to reach in here and see if, you know, I'll have to see how much room I got, because I need to be able to reach all the way into the bottom here. So I'll have to figure out exactly where the shelves are going to go. But I think I'm going to put in probably just 2 shelves. And so I'll have this big bottom area for storage, and then a shelf here for storage, and a shelf up here for storage. And it actually goes around the corner here. This way is farther back in. It goes back all the way to about here. So that's how deep it is, going this direction, or how wide it is. And so yeah, that's what's got to be done. So this will be probably the next video. I'll start getting ready to put these shelves in. I'll have to deal with the wiring here, and then I'm gonna get in here and clean it real good first, and then I got to start building the shelves and getting them in. And I can't wait to get this done, because I want to get this table, my dinette, cleaned off so I can sit here. It's a nice place to sit. It's comfortable. It's got a nice table, and it's nice as I can open up my curtains and sit at the table and see out, which is nice. And so yeah, that's the plan. So at any rate, if you found this helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe.